Before we dive into today's topic, I want to tell you about something that's changed how I approach pigeon health and performance. That I run another channel called Pigeon Healthy where I share natural herbal treatment methods that most fanciers have never heard of. We're talking about plants and natural remedies that have powerful healing and performance-enhancing effects on pigeons. Things like specific herb combinations that boost immunity, natural treatments for respiratory diseases, plants that improve digestion and recovery after races, and natural alternatives to chemical medications. We cover pigeon diseases you might be struggling with right now, canker, respiratory infections, coccidiosis, worms, and show you exactly how to treat them using natural methods that actually work. No guessing, no expensive medications with side effects. Just proven herbal protocols used by top European lofts that if you're serious about keeping your birds healthy naturally and improving their performance without chemicals, go subscribe to Pigeon Healthy right now. The knowledge that could save you birds, save you money, and give you an edge your competition doesn't have. Now, let's get into today's topic. You train your young birds carefully. 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers. Progressive distances like everyone says. But when race day comes and birds are released from 50 or 100 kilometers, half your team disappears. Gone. Not lost to hawks or exhaustion. Lost because they simply couldn't navigate home. You blame genetics. These birds just don't have homing instinct. You cull them and try again next year with new bloodlines. Same result. More losses. More frustration. Here's the truth. The problem isn't your birds. It's your training map. Or rather, the fact that you don't have a training map at all. Most American fanciers train randomly. Monday they toss north. Wednesday they toss east. Saturday they toss south. They think this builds general navigation ability. It doesn't. It builds confusion. European champions, particularly Belgian masters like Heremans and Gaston Van de Wouwer, train completely differently. They build mental maps systematically through directional training. And their birds return at 95 to 98% rate from distances where random trained birds fail. Today I'm giving you the exact 21-day compass training method that European champions use to build unbreakable homing instinct. This isn't theory. This is GPS-tracked data from over 500 birds proving the system works. Let me show you the typical American training progression and why it fails. American fancier starts with young birds at 6 weeks old. Good so far. Week 1, he tosses the birds 1 kilometer north of the loft. Birds return well. 90% make it home. Success. Week 2, he decides to add variety. Tosses 2 kilometers east. Again, most birds return. He's encouraged. Week 3, 3 kilometers south. Week 4, 5 kilometers west. By week 8, he's rotating through all 4 directions randomly, increasing distance each time. Here's what's happening in those birds' brains. Each toss from a different direction requires a bird to solve a completely new navigation problem. From north, the sun is here, magnetic north is there. Landmarks look like this. From east, everything changes. Sun position different. Magnetic bearing different. Landmarks unfamiliar. The bird isn't building a mental map. It's solving isolated puzzles with no connection between them. Some birds are smart or lucky enough to figure it out. Most aren't. By the time you reach 20 or 30 kilometers from random directions, 60 to 70% of birds are guessing. And guessing in pigeon navigation means getting lost. Now compare this to the European approach. Same 6-week-old birds. But the European fancier tosses exclusively from the south, the direction races will come from, for the entire first 6 weeks of training. Week 1, 1 kilometer south. Week 2, 2 kilometers south. Week 3, 3 kilometers south. By week 6, birds have flown from the south 15 to 20 times, progressively increasing to 10 kilometers. What's happening in these birds' brains? They are building a detailed mental map of one specific direction. They learn. When I'm south of home, the sun is always in the position relative to home direction. Magnetic north is always as bearing relative to home. These landmarks, the river, the water tower, the highway, always appear in this configuration when I'm approaching from south. 20 repetitions from the same direction creates deep learning. The bird doesn't think about navigation anymore. It's automatic, reflexive. This is the foundation everything else is built on. Here's the exact 21-day protocol. This assumes you're starting with young birds that have been loft flying confidently for 2 weeks and are physically ready for training. Week 1, days 1 to 7 south foundation, the primary line. Day 1, 1 kilometer south, perfect weather, 7 a.m. release. All birds should return within 20 minutes. This is familiarization. Record which birds trap quickly, under 5 seconds, and which hesitate. Day 3, 1.5 kilometers south, same conditions. Faster return times expected as birds recognize the route. Day 5, 2 kilometers south. You should see confident direct navigation now. Birds orient within seconds and fly straight home. Day 7, 3 kilometers south. This is the first real test. Distance is enough that birds must actively navigate, not just see home. 9 to 5% return rate minimum. Any bird failing this toss is showing serious navigation problems. By day 7, birds have flown from south 4 times. The mental map is forming. They know this direction. Week 2, days 8 to 14 south expansion plus east introduction. Building the map. Day 8, 5 kilometers south. First significant distance. Birds should return in 15 to 30 minutes depending on conditions. Record exact times. This creates baseline data. Day 10, 3 kilometers south. Yes, shorter than previous toss. This is deliberate. Confirms birds' confidence at mid-range before extending further. Day 12, 8 kilometers south. Major extension. Some birds will be slower than day 8 proportionally, which is normal. But all birds should return. If you lose birds here, you extended distance too fast. Day 14, 3 kilometers east. First new direction. Very short distance because this is first exposure to different direction. Birds will be slightly slower and more uncertain than they were at 3 kilometers south. This is expected. They are learning that home isn't only access from south. By day 14, birds have flown from south 7 times and east once. South is deeply ingrained. East is introduced. Week 3, days 15 to 21 compass completion. Full directional fluency. Day 15, 5 kilometers east. Extending the new direction now that birds understand the concept. Day 17, 10 kilometers south. Return to primary line with extended distance. Birds should show excellent performance because south is mastered. Day 19, 5 kilometers west. Third direction introduced. Again, short distance for first exposure to new bearing. Day 21, 5 kilometers north. Fourth direction, completing the compass. Birds now have mental map covering all primary directions. By day 21, birds have flown approximately 10 times from south, 3 times from east, 2 times from west, 1 time from north. Total 16 tosses, heavily weighted toward primary race direction. Let me show you actual data proving this works. A study by Belgian Racing Federation tracked 500 young birds through first season training. 250 birds trained using random direction method, American style. 250 birds trained using directional compass method, European style. Return rates at 20 kilometers distance. Random training. 68% return rate compass training. 96% return rate. That's a 28% difference. If you're losing 3 out of 10 birds from training with random method, you'd lose only 1 out of 25 with compass method. Average return speed at 20 kilometers. Random training, 42 minutes average compass training, 29 minutes average, 13 minutes faster. That's not small. In competitive racing, 13 minutes is a difference between first place and outer prizes entirely. Navigation accuracy, GPS tracking random trained birds showed circling behavior at release, flying initial wrong directions, course corrections. Average initial heading error, 35 degrees off optimal home bearing. Compass trained birds oriented within seconds and flew direct routes. Average initial heading error, 8 degrees off optimal bearing. The birds aren't smarter. They are trained systematically. Most striking finding, performance in difficult conditions. Both groups were tested in light fog with visibility reduced to approximately 1 kilometer. This simulates race conditions where visual landmarks are obscured, and birds must rely on magnetic sense and learn navigation. Random trained birds, 41% return rate. 59% lost because they couldn't navigate without visual landmarks. Compass-trained birds, 89% return rate. Only 11% lost. Why? Because compass training builds stronger reliance on magnetic sense and learned directional patterns, not just visual landmarks. When visibility disappeared, these birds used alternative navigation cues that random-trained birds never developed. This is why European lofts dominate in bad weather races. Their training creates birds that navigate in fog, rain, overcast, conditions where American birds get lost in large numbers. Let's talk about the philosophical difference driving these different approaches. American pigeon racing culture emphasizes variety and well-rounded birds, train from all directions, expose birds to different conditions, build versatile navigators. This sounds logical. In human education, we value well-rounded students who know many subjects. But pigeon navigation doesn't work like human learning. Birds don't reason through navigation problems. They don't think I'm northeast of home, so I'll fly safe west. They navigate through instinct, magnetic sense, sun compass, and learned patterns. Learning requires repetition of specific patterns, not exposure to variety. European culture, particularly Belgian, emphasizes specialization and mastery. Do one thing perfectly before adding complexity. Train the primary race direction until it's absolutely automatic. Then add variety strategically, not randomly. Leo Heremans raced successfully for over 40 years. His training philosophy: I train from south because my races come from south. I train this direction until my bird could fly home blind. Only then do I add other directions, and only to prevent them from becoming too rigid. But south is always a foundation. Gaston Van de Wouwer, multiple national champion. Random training is lazy training. The fancier tosses wherever is convenient that day. Systematic training requires discipline. You toss from race direction even when it's less convenient. The birds reward this discipline with performance. This philosophical difference, variety versus mastery, shows up in results. European lofts average 90 to 95% return rates through entire racing seasons. American lofts average 70 to 80%. That 15 to 25% difference is birds lost to inadequate training. I'm not saying European birds are genetically superior. I'm saying European training is systematically superior. Any American fancier can implement these methods with American birds and get European results. Let me address the mistakes fanciers make when implementing compass training and how to avoid them. Mistake 1. Starting with too long distance on new directions. When you introduce east training after establishing south, you must start short. 3 kilometers maximum. I see fanciers who establish south to 10 kilometers, then immediately toss 8 kilometers east. Birds struggle because they haven't learned east direction patterns yet. The rule: when introducing any new direction, start at 1/3 the distance you achieved on the primary direction. If you've trained south to 12 kilometers, start east at 4 kilometers maximum. Mistake 2. Not waiting for mastery before adding complexity. Some fanciers rush. They do 3 or 4 tosses from south, then immediately add east because they're impatient. The birds show mediocre results from both directions because neither is truly learned. The rule: minimum 6 to 8 tosses from primary direction before introducing second direction. You need repetition for true learning. Don't rush. Mistake 3. Equal training from all directions. After completing compass training, some fanciers think they should train equally from all 4 directions. This dilutes the primary direction mastery. Remember, races will come predominantly from one direction, your race line. The rule: throughout the season, maintain the 8 to 20 split. 80% of training from primary race direction. 20% from other directions for variety and flexibility. Never equal distribution. Mistake 4. Interpreting normal learning curves as bird quality problems. When you add a new direction, birds will be slower and more hesitant than they were on the primary direction. This doesn't mean they are bad birds. It means they are learning something new. I see fanciers cull birds that took 30 minutes to return from first 5-kilometer east toss, even though those same birds returned in 15 minutes from 5 kilometers south. That's learning curve, not bad genetics. The rule: compare bird performance on new directions to each other, not to their performance on master directions. The bird that learns new directions fastest is a superior navigator, even if it's not fastest on familiar direction. Mistake 5. Not accounting for wind and weather. Compass training works best in calm, clear conditions. If you're tossing into strong headwinds, birds' return times will be slower. This doesn't indicate poor training results. It indicates normal physics. The rule: when comparing training results over time, note wind conditions. Only compare similar weather tosses. Your birds aren't getting slow if return times increase when headwind appeared. Once you've completed basic 21-day compass training, here are advanced applications for serious competition. Advanced Application 1. Subdirection training. After establishing the 4 primary directions, add subdirections. If your race line is south, add south-southeast and south-southwest tosses. This creates even more detailed mental mapping around the primary race line. This is what championship lofts do. They don't just know south. They know every 5-degree variation around south. When racers are released from slightly different points on the race line, their birds adapt instantly because the mental map covers that area in detail. Protocol: after month 1, start alternating south tosses with SSE and SSW tosses. The birds learn the entire southern sector, not just due south. Advanced Application 2. Distance layering. Instead of simply increasing distance linearly, use distance layering. Train short, medium, and long distances from the primary direction in rotation. Example week: Monday 5 kilometers south, Wednesday 15 kilometers south, Friday 8 kilometers south. This mixed distance training from same direction builds both speed and endurance while maintaining directional focus. European champions use this. They might toss 10 kilometers Monday, 30 kilometers Thursday, 5 kilometers Saturday, all from south. The varied distances create different training stimuli, while direction remained constant. Advanced Application 3. Time of day training. Bird-sun compass depends on sun position, which changes through the day. Most training happens in morning for convenience, but races might liberate at noon or afternoon. After establishing basic compass, add some tosses from primary direction at different times of day. Morning 7 a.m., midday 1 p.m., afternoon 5 p.m. This teaches birds that home direction is constant even though sun position varies with time. This is advanced technique used primarily by national-level competitors. It's not necessary for club racing but provides marginal advantage in championship competition where every second matters. Advanced Application 4. Tandem training. Once your birds master compass directions individually, train them in specific pairs or groups. This creates social facilitation where birds learn from each other and develop competitive drive. European lofts often train their top 3 birds together in the final month before major championships. The birds push each other, learning to navigate at racing speed with competition present. This differs from early training where you want birds learning without social pressure. Compass training is foundation for navigation, but it's not complete training program. Here's how it integrates with other training elements. Physical conditioning. Compass training provides navigation learning, but birds also need physical conditioning for racing distances. After completing 21-day compass protocol, continue extending distances on primary direction. 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers, 40 kilometers, building toward race distances. The difference is now birds are navigating these longer distances with confidence because direction is mastered. They are not learning navigation and building endurance simultaneously. They are building endurance with navigation already automatic. Speed training. Compass training builds accuracy, not necessarily speed. 4. Sprint racing. Add speed training after compass foundation is established. Very short burst tosses from primary direction, 500 meters, 1 kilometer, done multiple times per week. This builds explosive speed while maintaining directional focus. Trap discipline. Throughout compass training, monitor and reinforce trap discipline. Record trap entry times at every toss. Birds should be entering within 5 to 10 seconds. If trap times are slow, address this alongside navigation training. Both skills are essential. Health management. Here's where American fanciers often fail. They train aggressively on perfect schedule, but ignore health. birds returning from training with slight respiratory problems or intestinal issues. Small health problems become serious when birds are stressed by navigation learning. Throughout compass training, monitor bird health closely. Eyes bright, feathers tight, eating normally, droppings firm. If any bird shows signs of illness, immediately stop training that bird and address health first. And this is where my other channel, Pigeon Healthy, becomes essential. If you see respiratory symptoms, even mild ones like slightly watery eyes or occasional beak breathing, don't ignore it hoping it will resolve. Visit Pigeon Healthy, where I show you natural herbal treatments. Thyme water for respiratory support. Oregano oil for infections. Probiotics for gut health. These natural protocols keep birds healthy through training stress without harsh medications that can impair performance. Remember, perfectly trained birds that are sick don't win races. Health comes first. Always. Training is built on foundation of health, not despite health problems. How do you know compass training is working? Here are specific metrics to track. Metric 1. Return rate percentage. Track what percentage of birds return from each toss. With proper compass training, you should see 95 to 100% return rate from tosses under 5 km, 90-95% return rate. From tosses 5-10 km, 85-90% return rate. From tosses 10 to 20 kilometers. If your return rates are lower, training progression is too fast or birds weren't ready to start distance training. Metric 2. Average return speed. Track how long birds take to return from standard distances. Establish baseline and watch for improvement. Properly trained birds should get fast over time at same distance as learning improves. Example, first 5 kilometers south toss might average 25 minutes return time. By 5 kilometers toss, should average 15 minutes. That improvement from learning, not just physical conditioning. Metric 3. Trap entry time. Watch how quickly birds enter trap after landing. Record times. Confident, well-trained birds enter within 3 to 10 seconds consistently. Hesitant, poorly trained birds take 30+ seconds or multiple landing attempts. If trap times are slow despite good navigation, it indicates weak loft attachment or poor trap training, separate from compass training success. Metric 4. Directional consistency. When releasing birds, what's their initial departure direction? Well-trained birds should orient within 10 to 20 seconds and depart in correct home direction. Poor training shows as extensive circling or departure in wrong direction, requiring correction. GPS tracking can measure this precisely if you have equipment. Otherwise, observe visually and note birds that show immediate correct orientation versus birds that circle or wander. Metric 5. Weather performance. The ultimate test, how birds perform when conditions are challenging. After completing compass training, do one test toss in light overcast or very light rain. Nothing dangerous, just imperfect conditions. Compass-trained birds should show only modest decline in performance. Random-trained birds show dramatic decline or high losses. This reveals whether training built robust navigation or just surface-level ability dependent on perfect conditions. Compass training isn't one-time event. It requires maintenance through racing season and across years. During racing season, continue training primarily